Greetings and salutations, young true believers. So, today I'm talking about the debate between Trent Doherty and Thomas Senior regarding religious beliefs and whether or not they require evidence. Now, evidentialism, as you will recall, is the epistemological view that beliefs require evidence, which seems pretty straightforward. But uh, Doherty is going to argue that evidence, in the case of, or along the lines of, I see a banana. Okay, what makes you think you see a banana? It's yellow. It's cylindrical. Uh, it has a sweet smell emanating from it. That's evidence that supports your claim, your belief, right? That there's a banana in front of you. Now, what Doherty wants to argue is that religious beliefs are more akin, I should say, to logical beliefs and moral beliefs. They don't require, they're not subject to what Senior calls, quote, the robust evidence of the senses, right? Okay. And that might be the case. God is, after all, the existence of God is not an empirical matter, right? We can't quantify God, right? So begin, Senior notes, Doherty appears to argue for the following claims. 1. Evidentialism is the right theory of justified belief. 2. Religious beliefs are no different in nature from moral and logical beliefs. So if those beliefs require evidence for justification, and so do religious beliefs. And 3. If on the basis of some cognitive faculty it seems to you that P, say that God exists, for example, then you have a reason for believing that P in proportion to the strength of the seeming. And that's the kicker here, right? So for Doherty, if it seems to you, right, that you have a sense, you're experiencing a genuine religious phenomenon, or you're having a genuine religious experience, then that seeming is enough to justify the belief in the experience, right? Now, Senior notes, this is 152 of your text, I'd have thought that Doherty's position was that all beliefs require evidence for being justified, and so that all beliefs are on a par in this regard. But the claim in his conclusion is that religious beliefs are treated as, quote, moral and logical beliefs, not necessarily beliefs in general. They're to be treated as moral and logical beliefs. And Senior notes, a way to reconcile these claims is to say that all beliefs require evidence, but some beliefs, like moral and logical beliefs, have mostly intuitive evidence rather than the more robust evidence that we get from the senses. So, to give you an example from each, right? If I make a modus ponens claim, like if P then Q, and my second premise in the argument is P, and my conclusion is Q, then you intuit that Q is going to follow from those premises, right? That's again intuitive evidence. And if I tell you that Susie's grandmother is dependent upon Susie for food, clothing, shelter, transportation, those are the premises of my argument. And the conclusion is Susie should take care of her grandmother, right? Then you would intuit the missing moral principle, which is we ought to take care of our dependents, right? So the question is, are religious beliefs on a level like this? Are they the same thing as moral and logical beliefs? And presumably political beliefs would be along the same lines, right? Well, to do that, right, in order to establish this, Doherty tries to establish a view that he calls reasons common sensism. Quote, if it seems to you that P, then you thereby have a reason to believe that P in proportion to the strength of the seeming, right? If it seems to you like it's true, then it's true, right? But, say in your notes, right? What kind of seemings, other than perceptual seemings, does Doherty have in mind? He clearly thinks moral and logical seemings are evidentially significant, and I suppose many others would be willing to include such things. But reasons common sensism doesn't stop there. It's perfectly general. Any seeming of any kind gives you a reason for belief. That is, it gives you evidence of the truth of that belief. Furthermore, the stronger the seeming, the stronger the evidence. So for any proposition at all, if it really, really seems to you that it's true, then you have really, really good reason to believe it. And Senior notes, I have two objections to this view. That's, again, reasons common sensism. He's first notes, I don't see what has to do with evidentialism. Some seemings provide good evidence because they are reliable signs of the truth of their content. My visual experience of a ripe banana is good evidence that there's a yellow object in front of me because almost always, right, in parentheses, when I have the experience that there's a yellow object before me, right, then it's something like a banana, it's something like a lemon, right? But notoriously, he notes, not all seemings are like that. The more we learn about implicit bias, for example, the clearer it is that some seemings provide no reason at all for belief. And for example, he points out the racist. He's like, oh, it seems like that black person or that woman isn't as qualified for the job as a white person. That seeming is clearly not warranted. It's not based on any evidence, right? And then he has a second objection, right? It's too easy, right? And he notes that Doherty expresses this concern himself, right? So if I look at my leaf-covered lawn, and it seems to me that there are exactly 2,397 leaves on it, and I haven't counted the leaves, right? And there's no reason to think I have some kind of special leaf estimating faculty in my brain, right? So if reason's common sensism then is correct, then I have very good reason, good evidence, for thinking that there are exactly 2,397 leaves on my lawn. But if that's all there is to justification, then there's no reason to be interested in it, since anything can be justified for anyone, if only it seems to them to be true. And this is the problem, right? This is to address a problem with this view, a further problem with this view that Senor doesn't bring up, but we should talk about, right? Doherty's view is question begging. What I mean by that, it's an example of reasoning in a circle, which is a logical fallacy. So again, imagine if I tell you that drinking good green tea is good for you because it's so healthy. What I've done is I've smuggled the conclusion of my argument into the premises of my argument. And the logical flow of any argumentation is only one way. Premises are designed, it's indeed their logical function to support the conclusion. You cannot assume your conclusion as a premise. You cannot include it as a premise in a conclusion of your argument. You can, however, use the conclusion of one argument as a premise in a different argument, but you can't use the conclusion of that same argument as a premise in that same argument. And it seems to be that's exactly what Doherty has done here.